On today's Inside the Game, the MLS Leagues Cup final takes center stage, plus a look at the U.S. men's national team players making waves across the pond. The Michigan High School Soccer Coaches Association released its top 15 teams this past week. That and much more coming up right now.
Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Well, good morning and happy Tuesday. It's Inside the Game, number 149. I'm Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler. Ryan Glinsky, not here today. That's okay, though. Our producer is taking the day off. Not like he didn't have a day off yesterday, but but we're excited to have you nonetheless. It is Tuesday. It is not Monday. We obviously enjoyed the Labor Day weekend, some more than others. Nathan, man, first off, man, how was your Labor Day?
Mine was great. Mine was, I'd say relaxing, but I mean, Monday is typically my day anyways. So, I mean, a lot of ramping up, getting ready for this week. Are you telling me, is that you insinuating that you didn't have the greatest Labor Day? I mean, I know you were doing back to school shopping for the majority of it. So, I mean, that sounds like a thrilling time to me personally, but what is it? Yours fell shy of expectations?
No, I mean, our weekend as a whole. I mean, I don't think I've
actually,
enjoyed a weekend, right, per se. Yeah. But I mean, we had 16 games this weekend, right? So, and we'll talk about some of that here. We kind of alluded to it on Friday. We launched our all sports platform here on Friday with our launch of a hockey league called Peak Performance Prep Hockey out of Burrsville, Rhode Island. And, like, how did you get that? Well, that came as a result of our relationships within WPSL and some production companies that we partnered with, and they love what we're doing. And so we created an all-sports channel called Sports Nation TV. And on Friday, we did 5 hockey games, our first ever hockey games, like, ever produced. I had never produced a hockey game up until Friday. And we did 15 of them this weekend. And so to say it was a successful weekend, that would be an understatement. We had 43,000 views of these hockey games this weekend, and so on a platform that didn't exist until Thursday night. So it's available on Roku TV. You can download it right now. You do have to pay to watch the games. That's the price of admission. But I mean, for monthly, it's $5.99 a month. If you want to join and watch that, that's just to watch those hockey games. As we start launching other sports on this network, we'll offer some different packages and things like that. But super exciting. So yes, when you say, John, how was your weekend? It was here from 7 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yesterday was like my day of recovery, and it was me going to Great Lakes Crossing from 11 to 4. Walking around that big mall and buying things that I'm not wearing. That's not true. I did buy the Dr. Pepper shirt. So, but Nate, I got to say this, and we kind of talked about this a little bit in kind of like the preview up to the beginning of our show this morning. Yes, my family, my daughters and my son, they like stores like PacSun, Zumiez, Hollister. It's a crazy kind of like combination of stores, right? Because you think about Hollister and PacSun, I don't think that those two stores go together. But be that as it may, they all have the Converse in there somewhere, Uggs. So, anyways, my kids' taste is all over the board. Anyways, we're at what do you call it? I was just saying that hot topic yesterday. And my daughter Zoe loves the Dr. Pepper T-shirts. Don't know why. She does like Dr. Pepper, so maybe that's why. But Dr. Pepper t-shirts. Well, Hot Topic didn't have her size. So right across the way, there is a Spencer's. And so I'm like, these stores are like legitimately like exactly like the same, except for one very specific
The name of
thing.
them.
Well, no. I mean, that's one thing that separates them. But the other thing that really separates them is that in the back of Spencer's is a very adult, section of very adult kids. So I'm not going to go into detail about this.
Lingerie
So we
or
don't
something?
take our kids in there. But I'm like, I know they have a Dr. Pepper shirt. Right. So I'm like, Zoe, let's go grab your Dr. Pepper shirt. So I'm like, stay out here. She kind of walked in and she didn't go in back. No, we did not go in back. Okay. So she didn't see what was the back. All right. But we got our whatever. We come back out and immediately she walks up to Bianca and she goes, Mom, I'm traumatized. I just went into Spencer.
Oh, God.
I'm like, what the
That's
hell?
why when we tell you don't go in, don't go in.
Oh, man. So, yeah. So I got,
It's like, you know what?
I got the eye.
Hey, you live and learn.
You live and learn.
You have to, the world's going to teach you one way or the other. So, I mean, may as well just walk into it. And then there you go. Now you know.
So this weekend, though, we did do some cool things here in the studio, one of which we can't show you, but we're going to be installing another camera that's going to actually show you our control room, and so which is going to be kind of neat from the standpoint of that long term. But we also installed this camera, and this camera is another camera that we get to use to show kind of what's happening here in the space. And so, yes, a camera's right up there in our rafters, and so I figured that'd be
It's actually
a
a spy cam. He just leaves it up 24/7. You can just watch him work every day, all day.
So just some new things that we did here to again shine some more light on our podcast and our show. But we have a good show lineup for you this morning. We're going to talk about the League Cup final. A lot to talk about there. Obviously, the excitement and the build up to this, and the records that were broken as a result of it, and then of course what happened at the end of it. We'll get into that as well. We'll also talk about what's going on with U.S. men's soccer players across the world right now, having a really good go of it here to start their seasons. We'll talk about that this morning. The Michigan High School Soccer Coaches Association released their rankings here again on Sunday. We'll dive into those. Even though it's Tuesday, we should still give them their credit. We'll dive into those this morning and so much more. Something I did not dive into on Friday. I know, Nate, you weren't here, but we have a new partner in Hotel Planner. And Hotel Planner is it's a great partnership, and the reason why is that it allows people all across this country to when they book a hotel, they get the group rate at an individual level. And so when you go into our link that we have on our everywhere we plastered now, in all of our bios and everywhere, Hotel Planner, you get to go in there and you'll get cheaper rates than if you went to the actual website of the hotel. That's how cheap these rates are. And so I've been testing it. It's been fantastic. And so Hotel Planner, a brand new partner of the National Soccer Network. You go to nationalsoccernetwork.hotelplanner.com and you can book your trip and save money. And whether it's $5, whether it's $10 per night, doesn't matter. You can save money by utilizing that link. So, but we're going to come back here after this break. We're going to dive into the League Cup final. I'll talk a little bit about, again, the U.S. soccer players and so much more. You're watching Inside the Game here on this Tuesday morning.
Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back into our Shelby Township studios here. Premier Media Group, our studios here in
I'm
Shelby
watching
Township,
you.
Michigan. I know it's a mouthful, but we're excited to have you nonetheless. There's Mr. Nate Wangler there. He's in Grand Rapids. And so Nate,
Uncomfortably close to the camera. Anyways, go ahead.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Oh man, so a busy weekend here of soccer, not only here in the United States but around the world. And Josh Sargent has had a tremendous start to his season here, and so you just can't say enough about what he's done. I mean, he scored another goal, but this time he bragged a brace against Blackburn. So, talk about having a great start to your season.
It's kind of unprecedented what we're seeing right now from American players across the board. You look at what Josh Sargent is doing, but that's really just the tip of the iceberg. And Ryan Glinsky, our very own Ryan Glinsky, actually made a really good video this morning, and him and I have been talking all weekend about how are we going to kind of do the State of the Union of where American players are heading into these friendlies, because it's necessary, and I think it's good to at least build some sort of hype and some sort of promotion around what this team may be able to do in 2026. And he put that video up, and even now the comments are starting to get at him a little bit that he left players off the table because there's just so many players, that American-born players right now in those top leagues across the world, that are just showing up and showing out. I mean, let's start off with, obviously Josh Sargent. I think he's top of the list right now. What is it? 6 goals in 5 games, I think, is what the mark is. Sargent is on.
Well, according to this, it's 5 goals in 4 matches, but I could be
5 goals in 4. Okay. Well, then yes. Okay. And then you have obviously Malik Tillman, who scored in his debut in the Bundesliga. You have Christian Pulisic, who's off to just a roaring start in the year in the Serie A as well. But obviously, he's with the U.S. men's national team. They'll be playing on Saturday against South Korea. I'm over the moon about getting that opportunity. Chris Richards on the defensive end has been absolutely shut down. He's been in great form really ever since the World Cup. And if you watch him play, I mean, defensively, he's one of the more sound players I think we have at our disposal. Aiden Morris, who's another name on that list, back-to-back player of the match honors from Middlesbrough. I mean, Balogun also scored as well. You got Ethan Horvath, who's making saves in clutch situations to end up winning games as well. Took down Leeds City, I believe it was about 5 days ago. I mean, across the board right now, you have American players who are not just playing well, but kind of dominating on their respective teams and are making the difference. And I think when we talk about that roster that was just released that we looked at of what this team is going to look like, not only for the international friendly against South Korea, but the international friendly against Japan, which I think will be a good test for this team ahead of the World Cup coming up. Seeing the level at which these players are playing heading into World Cup season is very inspiring because, again, this is where we start to figure out, okay, who do we have, who do we not have? Because they're playing for so many different clubs, and they just don't always get that opportunity to play together nearly as much. And as much as you want to call up everybody, you can't. I mean, you only have a certain amount of players that you can call up, and it's almost creating this situation where I'm not going to say we have too many options, but we have a lot of great options because a lot of them are in top form right now. So to see the way that those players are operating, I'm going to be interested to see how they put it together for South Korea. I'm going to be interested to see how they put it together against Japan. But what I can say right now is that there's a lot of positive momentum that's been generated from how they've started the year. Now, what do they do when they come together? Like, that's always the big question mark, and it has always been the big question mark of how do they actually string that all together to go out and win big games or just beat a top 30 team. I mean, Mauricio Pochettino is 0 for 5 against top 30 squads, excluding Mexico, right? So he's beaten Mexico, but outside of that, he hasn't beaten a top 30 team. So when you have 2 international friendlies against top 30s coming up, like, forget Nations League, forget Gold Cup, forget all of that Copa America, that's all in the past. What happens now? Do you go out and win those matches? Because that's gonna give American fans a lot to be pumped up about because of the way that all of these players have been operating just in the first couple of weekends of European soccer action. I mean, they're on fire right now. And I think our strongest position is striker, right? So you got Balogun, who looks to be in top form. You got Christian Pulisic. I mean, doesn't really warrant a mention, but you get my point. You got Josh Sargent, who is, I mean, just unconscious at the moment. I mean, I think he's just kind of flipped a switch in his career. I hope that this is consistent. I hope it's not just a flash and then whatever happens beyond this. You got Tyler Adams, who put in 90 minutes. You have Weston McKennie, who's looked really good. And so I think on the front foot, I think we look great. I think our attacking third looks awesome. The other thing that I'm interested in talking about is the goalie battle. We didn't even notice this coming in, but now, okay, you have Matt Turner, who obviously was your starter in 2022. I thought he did a fine job. I still like Matt Turner for that spot. You have Matt Freese, who is great in the Gold Cup. Now, he's going to have to show something if they start him against South Korea or if they start him against Japan. Like, he's really going to have to prove why he deserves to be in that spot. And then you have Ethan Horvath, who is also playing top of his game right now and who has made massive saves for the U.S. men's national team in the past. I mean, I don't think anybody will ever forget his save against Mexico to help them. And then you have Ethan Horvath, top of his game, national team in the past. Anybody against Mexico added time off of PK, I believe. So this is what we're looking at right now, and it was like Christmas Day over the weekend every day, because every time I got one of these notifications, it just gets you a little bit more, that fever starts to grow a little bit more for World Cup and international friendlies. Now the only question is, can Mauricio Pochettino figure out how all of the pieces fit? This is the biggest question for the U.S. men's national team. We have great individual pieces. We have tremendously talented players who are starting to not only emerge, but really make their mark in the international game in these top leagues in Europe. How do you string them all together to win games at the international level? Like, it's time to figure that out. And that's still the scariest part, because I don't know if he knows his 11. And forget his 11, JT, who his rotation guys are. Who he wants in certain spots and certain matchups. That's the biggest question now for Mauricio Pochettino. This is all great. This is all fine and dandy. But again, to me, this is kind of like, ramping up to the World Cup. If we're to get there and disappoint, then none of this matters. None of these individual performances really matter all that much. But how do you put this together? That's the question now.
The question I have, and we see this a lot in leagues and with teams all across the world in different sports. And the question I have is this, and I think I know the answer to this question, but I want to ask you. Here we are early in the season, right? And like a lot of teams and a lot of players, they're finding their groove. Some players get to the groove earlier than others, some way later. Some teams don't find success right away. It takes them 4-5 games before they start to feel their groove, feel that consistency. And then from there, they become a much more a different team that you might have faced. And so like the first time around, you might lose 3-1, but then you come back around and you end up winning 4-2, right? And so my question is this: are the U.S. men's national team players, these U.S. players, are they having success too early? And is it sustainable? And is it real? Because again, okay, everyone's coming back, from the summer and, they're getting into it, okay, so what? Josh Sargent's got 5 goals in 4 games, right? What will the next 5 games look like? What will the next 10 games look like?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've seen it with the like of players. We talk about baseball. Everyone here in Michigan knows of a player named Chris Shelton, okay? I mean, they do for about 5 minutes. He was leading the league in like home runs. I mean, the guy was off to a crazy start. And then he didn't even finish the year with the Tigers. He just like completely went back to normal land. I mean, how many times have we seen in the past, you see and this is where like, even like in baseball, right? Baseball is one of those sports where you can start off really hot and then like completely tank, right? Like boom, we've seen that.
Like off a cliff too. Yeah,
Tigers like have like a 7 or 8-0 start, and then boom, right down the tank they went. I mean, they've been able to sustain that these last 2 seasons, which is great. Which means that they're a good baseball team, right? They're above average baseball team, and so they're going to win more games than they're not. And so, but are these players above average, or are they like the Chris Shelton right now, where they're just coming in and they're like having this miniature success? And is it sustainable?
Yeah.
Our hope is that it's sustainable.
Yeah.
But part of me is like, man, I feel like this is like a glass ceiling, man, or something. I just feel like it's a house of cards.
Yeah.
Is it real?
Right. Well, and that to that point, I mean, I think what's nice about where we are now versus maybe 2022 is that these players are far more, they're further along in their journey now than what they were in 22. Like the team we saw in 22 is we saw a ton of potential. Like we had a lot of very, very young prospects who were all surrounding one, obviously Christian Pulisic, who's regarded as the most talented player from our country, but they were considered prospects. I mean, they were young guns at that point. We're 4 years further along now. Like they're more cemented. There's more of a veteran presence in that U.S. men's national team clubhouse than there was before, especially in 2022. I mean, you have Adams, who's older now. He's more seasoned. You got obviously Robinson, who's more seasoned. You got guys like Malik Tillman and Chris Richards, who have grown up before our eyes, who are starting to really emerge in the European ranks after being a part of Major League Soccer. Obviously you have, Pulisic, you have Josh Sargent, who's starting to, I mean, he's a vet now. You can say he's a vet. So I do think age kind of teaches you how to maintain a level of consistency, which is something that I hope that this team finds. And I think it's something that, just given that we have players who are older than what they were in 22 and more cemented, means that they might know how to do that better. They might know how to handle bigger leverage games since they're in those environments. So I'm hoping that it's consistent. It might just be a flash in the pan. We might just be going through a section of time where all of a sudden all the American players it's a coincidence. They just also happen to be dominating all at once. But I do think we benefit a lot from the fact that if you compare it to where we were in 2022, you have more of a veteran-led squad with older players now. And with age, JT, this, comes knowledge. You know how to maintain a level of consistency and success, unlike you did maybe when you were younger. So that's something that I hope, at least, in my opinion. But that all comes down to the manager. What does Poach do? By the way, very quickly, I know we probably have to transition here at some point. Big fan of Mauricio Pochettino going on College Game Day. I don't know how much ball you watched over the weekend, and I think it was like Thursday to yesterday, I think, when Belichick made his debut, which, ouch, by the way, against TCU, not great. But I am a big fan of Mauricio Pochettino going on College Game Day. I just thought that was cool. I thought that was a cool touch, man. You gotta put yourself in front of a mainstream audience, and it felt like a clash of worlds in my book because I'm a huge college football fan, big into the football scene, and then obviously Poach being on there. We talk about the guy damn near every day, so you gotta, it was uncomfortable for him, and you could tell even doing the whole OH thing to the crowd, he wasn't really into it, but I love his effort to assimilate new American culture. It just that hit me in the feels right there. Good on Coach. He's trying.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think that the more that he can be humanized, I think in a way in which most U.S. men's national team coaches have not been, I think will help with the fan base, right? Supporting a coach, right? And
Big
so
time.
I think that's the biggest challenge that I think our coaches typically face is just, who are they and how are they going to help this team be successful? We are going to dive into the League Cup final here on the other side of our next break. Before we do that, though, we're talking about this, and I think it's important that we ask this question. I think it's important that we ask these types of questions where, we're hoping that with age and with experience, players are going to find that consistency, right? Christian Pulisic, for the most part, has been, over the last 2 or 3 years, across the pond, has been way more consistent than his first couple of years. So we're seeing him do that. Josh Sargent obviously has been better. I think what he's doing here is another level. Again, my biggest concern sitting in this chair today is what we are seeing. The quote unquote not peak, but the upward trend that we need to see our U.S. men's national team players have going into the World Cup, right? Because if Josh Sargent, again, if you're going to sit here and tell me that in July of this next year, if I cared that Josh Sargent had 10 goals through 18 games, playing in the against the likes of Blackburn, versus and asking knocked out in the round of not even making out of the group. Do I?
Yeah.
What would I rather have? Well, obviously the latter, right? I'd rather not be knocked out of the group, right? So
that's why I want South Korea tomorrow. I don't want to wait till Saturday to see how this team plays together. I want it tomorrow. Okay,
yeah,
I'm sick of B squads and C squads.
Yeah, I want
to see who we got.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And now we're going to see, hey, how do these players shape up in the new environment, with their current level of play. And so I'm optimistic, but I'm also, like, okay.
Well, naturally, yeah.
Well, it's because again we
naturally
I've watched
pessimistic.
Well, it's not even like I've seen this enough. As a coach, I've seen it as a player, I've seen it as a fan.
Oh yeah.
At all sports, it doesn't matter. I mean, we see these singular moments in time. You're like, wow. I mean, we could look at quarterbacks. Give me one quarterback over the last many. Nick Foles, right? I mean, wasn't he like the MVP of the Super Bowl? Like, I mean, he was pretty damn close to it, right? I mean, like this guy never played. I mean, he had they threw him around a couple times. Nope. He had a season. I mean, Tom Brady could have been a one-hit wonder, right? He could have been, but he wasn't. He found a way to keep his job and do so as one of the best quarterbacks that will in the history of the game. But how many quarterbacks have been drafted in the first round? How many quarterbacks are coming off the bench and they have a season? I mean, what was it? Last year, Minnesota Vikings, their quarterback, who were like, who was this guy? And he leading the Minnesota Vikings. Not a good quarterback. He's not going to start this season. He started the entire last year in place of J.J. McCarthy, right? Because he got hurt, tore his ACL or something in the first week of training camp. I mean, I know that football is a bad comparison, but you're talking about individual players who are going out there and they have these like miniature moments, that they then people figure out who they are. They figure out how to defend them. They figure out how to, manage them on the field. And those players just can't find a way to get that success back. And so how do players like Josh Sargent not fall into that? Now, I mean, there's, let's be honest here, the likelihood of at least 3 or 4 of these players who are having a lot of success right now is probably going to taper off, right? They're not going to go on this tear, right? It's just naturally you're not. But, hey, is it possible that Josh Sargent, a Pulisic, and a Malik Tillman, these players could just keep going on tears? Absolutely. But to have most of them do this, I mean, it's unheard of. And so I feel like it's great for U.S. soccer. It's great for the game. It's great for what we're trying to do here. I just hope it's not too soon. Like save a little bit of it, for the World Cup, right? Save some of this because that's where my concern is that it's going to taper off.
Yeah. Well, it's just the trend right now. And that's what we're noticing. We're just noticing trends. Like we're watching All-American players closely because we realize that there aren't many windows left before the World Cup comes up. All eyes are on All-American players, and maybe they're playing inspired because they realize that they got to fight for their opportunity to play in the World Cup. I mean, there's only the Alexi Lala said this the other day before we transition into what we're going to talk about next, and I thought it was brilliant. He goes, the biggest honor is playing in a World Cup. It's actually the second biggest honor. The biggest honor is playing in a World Cup on home soil. And that's where we are right now. So maybe it's inspiring.
There, like winning, like playing in a World Cup final.
Probably winning the World Cup. I don't know. We've never had an American do that, so I don't know. I mean, they can't really speak to that, but this is it, So I think that it's inspiring players to play better, to put in their best, to show what they have, to try to get themselves at least onto that list, even if you're not in the starting 11. I mean, just to be on the bench in a World Cup, especially in front of an American-led crowd. I mean, it's that is something that you fight an entire lifetime for. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe they're playing inspired right now. Maybe that's why they're in the form that they are. But we're just noticing trends as American fans and people that obviously follow this. And then that's why Saturday matters so much, because everything that we've done leading up to this and talking on this podcast about this team and these players and what do we have and what do we don't have, and they looked uninspired or they don't care. All of that kind of goes by the wayside when you see what they do on the field. You even said it yourself. What do you do on the field? That's the most important part. So That's why the friendly on Saturday and the friendly against Japan are going to tell us a lot about what our expectations should be moving forward. I'm already past Gold Cup. I don't care. That roster is dead and gone to me. That was a practice, if you will, a glorified scrimmage. So it is what it is. Moving on. What do they do on Saturday? That's the biggest question mark.
No doubt about that. When we come back here, we'll dive into the League Cup final. We'll talk about that and the controversy that ended the league final. You're watching episode number 149 here of Inside the Game. We'll be back after this.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play,
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
and start watching today.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game here on this Tuesday morning. If it's your first time stopping by, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, like us, share this with your friends and family here all across this great country, hey, even the world. As we continue this conversation this morning, we're going to dive into League Cup final. And, just like in a lot of cases, what ends up happening is you have a really, really cool event that ends up being marred in controversy. We'll talk about that here as well. But before we do, Seattle wins this thing 3-0. Right? So it's their first ever League Cup final. They did so in front of a record crowd of 69,314 people. It is a record crowd not only for the field of Lumen Field, which is, think about that for a second. This is the place that hosts the Seattle Seahawks. And so you're going to sit there and tell me that the Seattle Seahawks did not have a larger crowd. It was an MLS side. So if that doesn't excite you as a soccer fan, I don't know what does. Because that to me makes things so much more different. From the standpoint of where are we going in the MLS and where we're going leading up to the World Cup, because this stadium had a record this weekend, a record attendance for both the League Cup and Lumen Field. I mean, again, I just can't say that enough.
Huh.
Not a record for the MLS though, which that's different, but a record for the League Cup and a record for Lumen Field. Again, this is the first time that Seattle's won this. They had been to the League Cup final back in 2021. They were runner-up. This is their first ever League Cup. But Seattle Sounders have become the first North American club to win every major trophy available. MLS Cup, Supporters Shield, Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup, and now the League Cup. So they're the first team in North America to do all of these things. So congratulations to Seattle on doing that. You may ask how they do this, right? In the 26th minute, Jose Dorosio, he got a cross in by Alex Roldan, 1-0. A penalty kick in the 84th minute really was what sealed this win. Alex Roldan, again, he scored that penalty, and then Paul Rothrock had the final goal in the 89th minute. Turnover led to a goal. Seattle Sounders have won the League Cup and can call themselves champions in the middle of a MLS season.
Yeah, and I wasn't used to seeing Miami whiff on opportunities. I don't know if you saw that video of Messi who got a great ball in and just literally just tapered one just right over the top bar. So listen, they put on a show, did Seattle. They scored that first goal in the 26th, and then they really just kind of held on. They played great defensive soccer. Kind of forced the issue against Miami. The whole bend versus break thing, they were able to really just hold up until those late goals to really seal it away. And the attendance portion of it, I think, is awesome personally. I mean, just looking at the pictures of the crowd and just how many people came out, I think there's a few reasons for that. I think number one, Seattle always rallies behind their team. That's a very close-knit sports community. So you're going to see a lot of that. But the other part of it that really excites me, I don't know if you've been noticing this trend. We were talking about trends when it comes to the U.S. men's national team players, but attendance booms across soccer in certain areas and certain stadiums. Seattle, massive. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the antics around that, but Seattle was booming. I mean, we've seen this in the USL with some of the sides that we've been covering in Vermont and Detroit, and a lot of the programs that are starting to make massive renovations to their stadium. Pittsburgh is another example. All these different places, these big stadium projects, these attendance booms, something's happening in American soccer right now. And I don't know, it's a little disjointed because how big of a country we are. So there are certain pockets where it happens a little bit more often. But that, to me, is a huge talking point about this. I mean, believe me, we have to get to the nitty gritty, the good stuff that happened yesterday. But it just seems like there's a little bit of a boom going on across soccer right now in terms of attendance. So definitely something to focus on maybe in future shows. But yeah, great win by Seattle. And again, I guess no one's done it better, more consistently at a higher level than that team. And to do it against Inter Miami at home in front of that crowd, I mean, that's a different level right there. And shout out to those supporters because they created an environment that team could thrive in. And that's what really the soccer environment is missing in the United States. And we know this. Like, that's why players want to go across the pond and play, because of the environments that they're in. But you created that environment, Seattle. You did that against Miami. And you spurred those guys on to win 3-0 against a team that, and I'll mention this in a moment, is kind of the evil empire in Major League Soccer right now. And because of how much the league is willing to bend knee to the team that has Messi on it, and Luis Suarez for that matter. They're the superstar team.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I think another important stat here is that through the 6 games of the League Cup, Seattle only allowed 2. They scored 15, so goal differential was plus 13 during those 6 matches. So, yeah, I mean, so we are going to dive into this. Something that I, as a coach, we talked about quite a bit is that when you win, all right, you win with respect. You win. And you carry yourself in a certain way. when entering and leaving the field, right? You don't go rub it in somebody's face. There's a respect level to the game, and again, it's no different than showboating, on your way into a 47 nothing victory, and going to the end zone. You don't need to go taunt a player to create problems, right? And obviously there are certain things within sport where there are rivalries and things like that. I'm not aware that Seattle and Miami have a specific rivalry that would be to other than this being a final yesterday. But again, and there's something about being a sore loser. And this is what you're talking about when it comes to the evil empire, right? So to speak, right? We talk about the level of respect that players have. And when we talk about Luis Suarez, this is the same player that years ago was caught during a World Cup doing a Mike Tyson move, right, during the World Cup, right? And so, he's not like he's been here before. He's been in controversial moments before. Luis Suarez has a hard time maintaining his composure in these types of moments, right? And I don't know why, couldn't tell you, not that it matters. But what did he do? What did Luis Suarez do here yesterday? Well, again, looking at the video that you posted on our TikTok shorts, I mean, you could absolutely see emotion, which seems to be that of spitting. Now, again, has it been confirmed?
Oh, you can see it. Oh, you can see it.
Is it in fact confirmed that a loogie took place?
You can see the spit. You can see it flying. You can see it land. Oh yeah.
So here is what happened. So a bunch of chaos ensues at the conclusion of the game. Players are taking swings at each other, okay, in the middle of the field at the conclusion of this final yesterday, okay?
Yeah.
During all this chaos, Suarez was captured on camera spitting at Seattle staffer identified by some reports as a security director, Gene Ramirez, all right? And so reported footage circulated on social media that appeared to show Suarez spitting at a staff member despite Miami goalkeeper Oscar Ustari's efforts to intervene. So the goalkeeper was there to intervene. Noted as Suarez has lashed out, including slinging his arm around Vargas's neck, though the spitting itself was covered with less detail. And so, again, I know you posted the video. I tried looking at it. I'm not saying it's 100% conclusive, but everything about that video shows that Suarez spit at the staffer, Gene Ramirez. Again, Suarez has been here before, back in 2014. Again, he biting Italy's Giorgio Cecchini during the 2014 World Cup. Again, we just talked about this, right? I don't know if he took a bite out of it like he did Evander Holyfield in Mike Tyson's fight, but he did bite him. It's weird, right? I understand maybe in the whole like boxing wrestling world where you're literally like tied up, you're close to someone's ear, but I mean to just literally make an attack, it's almost kind of like you're a zombie.
Yeah,
it's like zombie-like. But
yeah.
Anyways,
right.
So Suarez has done this, and it does in fact mar the final yesterday, because what it does, it takes away from the excitement. Here we are talking about it instead of just talking about how great the game was. We're talking about what happened at the end. You got players taking swings at each other. So there's going to be suspensions across the board. And my perspective on this is that if Suarez, in fact, has been found that he actually spit at another staff member from another team, I don't know how you're not banned. Like, I don't know how you're not banned. I mean, under the new U.S. soccer guidelines, we went through this in a previous show. We talked about this in the new, and again, I got to pull it up. But we specifically talked about physical contact with referees and physical contact, when it comes to, another player. And so, I mean, it's violent conduct. Right, it goes down, I believe, as violent conduct.
Mm-hmm.
But spitting is like the worst thing you could do on a soccer field. I mean, it's like the worst. So
I think it's the most disrespectful thing you can do in general.
Your thoughts on this? I don't know what the precedent is. I'd have to do our research to find out like what the precedent is as far as people getting spit on and what the bans are. But I don't think a suspension is warranted here. I think a legitimate, you're banned. Like, you're done. Like that's my perspective on this. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Here's what we run into. I don't know if the MLS is in the business of banning one of their biggest superstars. I think that's kind of the problem that we run into. But someone left a very good comment on TikTok. Spike _41 says, from multiple players, we've got spitting, punching, and headlocks. Miami gets away with everything, and don't even get me started on the refs being their 12th man at almost every game. Now, we can get into that last part all we want, but the conduct portion of this is not a new thing to Miami. This is where people have an issue because now it's coming to a head. Now you get embarrassed on the road at Seattle. You got a couple of legends in Luis Suarez and Leo Messi who are playing on your team, and they got smashed. They got absolutely smashed by that Seattle team from beginning to end. So now you have a mix of ego, you have a mix of being the spoiled golden child, and now you get your butt kicked on the road, and the referee isn't your 12th man, and things seem to be on a level playing field. You end up getting this result. This is exactly what we're talking about, and this is why MLS fans are fed up. This is why they want Miami to be punished. This is why they want the ban for Luis Suarez. There is nothing more disrespectful, and I said this in that video. I mentioned it briefly, but there is nothing more disrespectful in my mind than spitting on someone. I mean, I can think of a few words that might offend someone more, but I would almost rather you physically hit me than spit on me, because that is the ultimate level of disrespect. And I don't care what culture, what country, I don't care where you're from. That is a different level of disrespect. Now, would it be fair if the MLS banned him? Yes, I do absolutely believe that it would be fair. However, do I want to see that personally, or do I believe that that is going to be the case? No, and here's why. I understand that this takes away from the game, and people are going to say that this is bad for the game, and that's fair. I don't think it's great, okay? Because it does take away from a lot of things. But is it kind of entertaining? Does it kind of build intrigue? Yeah, I would say so. JT, I got a question for you. For movies, stories, tall tales, campfire stories, what is the one thing they all have in common? What's the one thing they need?
A villain.
A villain. They need a villain. And you mentioned rivalries a little bit earlier. Okay, self-made rivalries. Hey, we happen to be in the same state. Hey, we happen to whatever. Okay, that's cute. That's cute. What the MLS has lacked and what they have now is a bona fide villain in Inter Miami. They are a team that if they come to your stadium, if you face them in the MLS Cup, if you face them in a high leverage situation where there's hardware on the line, everybody wants to beat the villain. You look at it across other American major sports, there's always a villain. And it creates storylines. It creates intrigue. I'll even bring this back. I'm a Michigan fan, right? I can't go with a day without mentioning it. That game against Ohio State last year, if they all just shook hands and walked off the field, that game itself is a massive storyline. I mean, you win that one as 3 TD dogs on the road against a team that has no business losing to you with a $20 million roster. Like, how? Really? But everything that happened and transpired afterwards, I mean, it was like we were back in the 1800s with the Michigan-Ohio border war. I mean, it was, we're grabbing flags, we're pulling people down. I'm not saying it's good for the game. I'm not saying it's good for the programs. I'm not saying I don't want anybody to fight during or after sports. I don't think that that's good for any game. But boy, does it build intrigue. You bet your you-know-what that it builds intrigue. And so I'm not saying we bend the rules to give Luis Suarez a second chance because it builds intrigue for future games. But the MLS has their villain. So I think there's room to capitalize on that a little bit. I don't know what they come down with. I mean, a lot of people, that's what the majority of the comments have said, ban him. But all I'm saying is if for whatever reason down the line when we get closer to the postseason and Luis Suarez is on the field and you have an opportunity to play those guys, you got your Draymond Green, you got your Pat Beverly, you got your, your Kansas City Chiefs. You got your villain. And I think that's cool for the MLS because it creates intrigue.
I don't disagree with you. I think what you're saying is spot on. I think that if we look back at the biggest and best villain kind of Colorado, right? The Colorado Avalanche back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Red Wings.
Patrick
I
Waugh.
mean, what happened during the playoffs and happened during that rivalry was,
Yeah.
truly remarkable. I mean, the dirtiness, you saw Patrick Waugh and Chris Osgood going at it at center ice. Like things like that. So, but that all happened inside the game. You know what I mean? Luis Suarez didn't slide tackle a player in the middle of the game and was dirty. It happened at the conclusion of the game and spit in someone's face. And so I think those two things are very important differentiating factors. You know, you have a player who's dirty, goes out there and slide tackles and run through players, and they get red cards for being dirty. Fine. Okay, that's one thing.
Right.
But again, you're talking about after a game. Game's over. Right? And so maybe part of that, too, is where the suspension maybe not be as bad because it happened post-game. But, 6 games, 7 game suspensions, those are kind of things that we've seen kind of in this environment. I don't like it, and I do think that having a villain and having that villain thing is great. But there's got to be a line. The line has to be, I can't walk up to someone in the middle of the street and just spit at them. That would be aggravated. I believe it's assault and battery. I believe that those are aggravated assault.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't walk up to you and go, and in your face. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we've seen hockey players who have done unhockey-like moves and been arrested for it, like taking a stick and slashing somebody across the back of the head. We've seen that in the last couple of years. We've seen play the non-hockey move, And so this has nothing to do with the game of soccer. Luis Suarez once again has proven that he does not have composure. He can't control himself. And there are going to be consequences behind that. Now, granted, I don't know what those consequences should be. If you're asking me if I'm if I'm Dan Garber, you want to see one of your best players, out? No, but it's not also Dan Garber didn't do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Dan Garber was like, okay, guys, go do it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Now,
and I don't want this to come across as me justifying it. I'm not justifying
I don't think
anything.
you are. I think it's a great perspective because, again, it creates a storyline. Let's be honest. The Ohio State-Michigan rivalry is only relevant because both teams are great.
Mm-hmm.
But if those teams, let's be honest, Western Michigan, Central Michigan, does anyone care about that rivalry outside of Western Michigan and Central? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Probably not. It doesn't mean a whole lot. But because Ohio State and Michigan have been consistently great over the years, always fighting for a Big Ten championship, always fighting for national championships, that rivalry is relevant. If those two teams they started playing terrible and were, irrelevant, they were like the Minnesota, of the Big Ten. Both those teams like Minnesota, we're not probably having the same, look at Michigan State, Michigan. Is that rivalry still the same right now? It's not. It's different. It hits different right now because both those teams, Michigan's just been better the last, 6-7 years. When Michigan State was great, better, Michigan wasn't. I don't know if we can look at that rivalry right now and say the same way. And maybe people are saying, "Oh no, John, it's still a rivalry." I don't think it holds the same.
Oh, it is, just not on the same level. Yeah, not on
so
the national level.
And
right.
Again, Colorado Avalanche, they don't even exist anymore. But Colorado, and there's a point in time where that rivalry meant nothing, and then it meant everything. And then what happened? It went back to it didn't mean nothing. And so I think these storylines are important. Absolutely. I just think there's a line. And that's my perspective on this. I agree with you. I think that having the villain, I think if Inter Miami can be the villain, that's great. But you've also got the hero on that same team too, right? I mean, you've got
It's true. I guess it's hard to be the it's hard to be the villain if you have Messi on your team. Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of
he's not used to being in that position.
Hey, for the sake of time, we do have to move on. We are going to ask this question here as our question of the day here in a little bit. We'll get to that in a moment. But before we do, I do want to dive into the high school rankings here in Michigan. We had a chance, obviously, to post these to our website and post them to all of our social media. Here's Division 4's Week 2 rankings. Nothing significant change here over the previous weeks. Again, Lansing Christian sitting atop of Division 4. They're 5-0. Grosse Pointe Woods University of Liggett is there at number 2. Detroit Christopher Roe, who we talked about here about last season, sitting there at number 14. Bloomfield Hills Roper at number 11. Let's dive now into Division 3 here, and there it is. And Country Day sitting atop at the number 1 spot. Flint Powers sitting at 2. You go down that list: Grand Rapids West Catholic Central, Saginaw Swan Valley, Milan, and Kingsford all in there. Ann Arbor Green Hills sitting at number 6. Frankenmuth is at number 4. We'll now dive into Division 2. Take a look there at Hudsonville Unity Christian. Hudsonville, again, sitting in the number 1 spot. They've been there for a couple weeks now. Forest Hill Central, we saw them. I think they were at 3 last week, if I'm not mistaken, Nate. Were they at 3 last week?
I think that's what it was. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's where it was.
Boston Huron, Warren De La Salle, who lost earlier this week to University of Detroit Jesuit. We had a chance to talk with their head coach, Aaron File, here on Friday in studio. Walled Lake Western is at 13. DeWitt is at 7. Howland Christian at 15. St. Joseph at 14. Cranbrook Kingswood sitting there at that 6th spot. And if we dive into Division 1 here, again, Portage Central still sitting atop the table, top the rankings, 7-0. Clarkston moving into number 2. Okemos, number 3. Troy Athens, number 4. Heartland, number 5. And you keep going on down. Troy High is number 8. There's University of Detroit. They beat De La Salle. They started a 5-0-1, and they've made themselves into the top 15 at number 11. Salem at 14. Holland West Ottawa still at 15. So there are your rankings for week number 2. And we are going to dive into our question of the day. And it's going to be, again, a good one. Salt Athletic is our official sponsor of the question of the day. All you got to do is scan that QR code on your screen or visit saltathletic.com and use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off of either a goalkeeper glove bag or a cleat bag through their website. Again, they're the official sponsor of Question of the Day. I do not have the button that Ryan typically has. That's over there.
I got you.
But we are gonna dive into the question of the day. How many games should Luis Suarez be suspended for? That is our question of the day. And I think it's the right question for today based on what happened yesterday. And Nathan, I want to start with my take on this first. Again, I think that this should be legitimately his season should be done. That's how I look at this. He should be done the rest of the season, okay? And if I were solely in charge, I would literally say he's done for the rest of his career in the MLS. That'd be like a lifetime ban. You cannot be spitting at people after a game or during a game, okay? Again, that's a crime. Anywhere else on earth, it's a crime.
Mm-hmm.
It is a crime. And so there are things that happen, and we know that things that happen in a soccer game that are different. I can't slide tackle someone down at the mall. Okay, I can't do that. I can definitely slide tackle somebody down, a soccer field, right? I can cleat somebody up. I can cleat somebody into their thigh. I'll be suspended, but it's not a crime. Part of the game. If I did that down the halls of Great Lakes Crossing, I would be in jail. I
want to see you slide tackle someone at the mall now. Oh,
I would
created just a hilarious image in my
head. I cannot just walk up to somebody in the mall and spit at them. First off, I'm probably going to get punched back because, again, that would be terrible. But it's a crime. Yeah. It's a crime, and so I know in the whole scheme of things, he's a star. Whatever, and people might say, John, it's too extreme. What message are we sending?
Yeah.
When we don't do the extreme in these situations, what is the message? And who is the better person to do it to? Right? I mean, if you want to send a message to the rest of the world about how this should be handled, lifetime ban Luis Suarez. Do you think that the MLS is going to be any less relevant tomorrow? No, it won't. right? It'll be exact. It might even be more. It'll create more, I think, talking points. I think people will talk about this for the next 6 weeks. But Luis Suarez should not be playing in the MLS ever again based off what he did yesterday. And granted, that's not going to end up happening. We know it's not. We know he's probably going to see a 5 or 6 game ban, or maybe 3 game ban. But if my message to Dan Garber is set the right message here. It is unacceptable for anyone associated with this game to be anywhere near a field if they pull that kind of a stunt. Period. End of discussion. Oh my, he didn't punch a coach. No, he spit at him, which is in every culture in the world the most disrespectful thing you could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
Ever do.
Yeah.
That's
and
my
it's
take.
What it comes down to is, does the MLS have the cojones to actually crack down like that? That's the question that everybody's waiting to be answered in all this, because you saw what happened. You clearly witnessed it. Again, I mean, go back and watch the video again, JT, but play it at like half speed. Trust me, you can see it. You can see that he did it. It's very clear that he did it. And so, and against a security guy, and also someone that's that old too, like that's low to me. You know, if you're gonna go out of your way to spit on someone, even if you're going to, don't do it, first of all. But you know, they always say, like, pick on someone your own size, pick on someone your own age, you know, pick on another player. That's fine.
Suarez might be the same age as.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's another point. But, I mean, the guy really should just retire at this point. But that's the question, though. Does the MLS have the actual cojones to do it? You know, would I like to see it? I don't know. I think it's nice to, I mean, on down the line, if he's still on the field, you know, people hate to watch him play. They hate him, so they want to watch it. They want to show up and watch. But that you're right. I mean, it is the most disrespectful thing you can do. But does the MLS, do they have the guts to be able to actually come down and punish one of their superstars? So we'll see. And I'm interested to see what the ruling is in the coming days.
No, I am as well, and obviously we'll keep everyone updated in regards to that here as it kind of shakes up. The one thing too is there's unions involved, right? And player unions are there to protect players and to help have their back. And so, you know, what's the precedent there too? I don't care about, you know, Suarez did this to himself, and you know, again, just like he did when he bit a player. The fact that he wasn't banned then doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, that was a whole new, different time period. But I just don't understand it, and something needs to be done about it. And hey, if they're not going to give him a lifetime ban, fine, season ban, be done with our season. Fine with me, I'll take it. That at least it sends the right message. But that wraps up here our coverage here of Inside the Game here on this Tuesday, September the 2nd, the first show of September. Tomorrow is episode 150. And tomorrow morning, we've got a guest joining us. Taylor Stanton will join us here tomorrow on the show in our second segment, talking about how to keep players more engaged, is more importantly talking about his love for the game. So we'll have him here tomorrow morning on the show. Ryan Glinsky should be back here in studio, so we'll have a little more graphics tomorrow. A little light today in the graphics. I mean, we could do them. I have to do them all. I didn't want to do all that. So
good conversation, though.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. Hey, if it's your first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button, like us, share this with your friends and family. Don't forget to check us out on Roku as well as YouTube or wherever else you want to watch. Hey, don't forget to go to TikTok and check out all of our shorts. On Instagram, we've been doing a lot of great things on those platforms. I think last week we had 400,000 total views across our Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok accounts for content. So not a terrible week for us in regards to that. So, but we're excited to have you watching wherever you're watching, near and far. That's Nate Wenger. I'm Jonathan Turner. Thank you for stopping by here on this Tuesday morning. Be back at it here again tomorrow morning, same time, same place, right here on Inside the Game. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.